What's up everyone, it's Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. I recently graduated from high school. Not gonna lie, I still consider myself to be a high school student because college just hasn't started for me yet, so I'm like in limbo, not in high school, but also not in college yet. But today, for my first foray, oh my gosh, that rhymes, into like college content, I'm gonna have a little moment of self-reflection and tell you guys everything that I wish I knew in high school. I guess let's just get started. First things first, academics. They are important, but don't make them your life. It might just be that I went to a super competitive high school where it was like a super toxic environment where the main like dogma was that grades sort of determine your worth. And that's just not true. I'm not gonna lie and say that academics aren't important. It's not okay to totally flunk all your classes, but it's also not worth risking your mental health, your sleep, your emotional energy to study till like 2 in the morning just for like a test. Like I know grades are important, but have a life outside of school. Second of all, this ties into what I said before, you need your sleep. I won't get into all the science about like how the brain is still developing in high school and how sleep is so important. But one thing that I heard a lot in high school was that one person would be like, oh, I stayed up till 2 studying for this test. And another person would be like, wow, you got any sleep? I pulled an all-nighter. That's not bragging rights. Why are you bragging about how unhealthy your lifestyle is? Also, if you don't get enough sleep like consistently, you can get sick more often, and going to school while sick is an absolute nightmare. Like, take it from me, I did it a lot. If you're sick, just take a break. I went to school sick a lot, which definitely not something you should be doing in this pandemic, but high school, it is intense and it might seem like a big deal, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just a tiny blip. My third piece of advice is do not procrastinate on your social life. And what I mean by this is that in my freshman and sophomore year, I just spent it studying and telling myself that I could have fun my senior year. And I was like, and you already know, when senior year came around, I was stuck at home because of COVID. I missed all the dances and rallies and football games and whatever to study. And I missed all of those and I couldn't go to any of them because there were none because of COVID. Missing all of those to study and procrastinating and thinking that I could always do it later clearly didn't work out for me. Can I tell you what inheritance in Java is anymore? Like, no. But I studied that at my freshman year homecoming dance. I think I missed out on like some of like the most quintessential high school experiences because I just ditched everything to study. My fourth piece of advice is to get to know your teachers. This section is really just a love letter about how much I love like my teachers in high school. One, teachers are really important for college letters of recommendation, but they're also a great support system on campus. I have to say that I think my teachers know me better than I know myself. They were able to provide advice during some really tough times that I had in high school and just guide me to be like a better person. One thing when it comes to teachers is know how to approach your teachers. You need to learn how to converse with adults, so practice with your teachers. It doesn't have to be like always about academics. You can talk about other things in your life that you enjoy. Like, teachers love getting to know you, so show off your personality to them. And you don't always have to approach teachers that you're like acing the class in. Throughout high school, I spent lots of lunches with my teachers. I wrote tons of letters to my teachers, sent emails, and I stayed in contact with teachers that I no longer had. Some of my closest group of teachers are from my sophomore year. I didn't have them my junior year or senior year, but I still maintain contact with all of them. Another option is to become a TA if they still are on campus. It's very important to do a good job though. You don't want their opinion of you to change, but helping them out, offering help, all that stuff. Get to know your teachers. You don't have to be homies like I am with my teachers, but just get to know them and they can be like an invaluable resource. 5, don't overdo it with extracurriculars. I'm looking at all the sophomores and all the freshmen and all the juniors that were my underclassmen, and they're just doing so much. Take it from me, I was part of one club. Like consistently in my last 2 years of high school, and I got into college. I had that one club and I played 2 sports. Saying I played 2 sports for the 4 years is very generous considering that I was out with injury for at least 3 of the seasons. But I think the biggest piece to take away from this part is be a part of a club that you want to be a part of. I think it's more important that you show consistency and you show loyalty to a club and you become like a key member or have a leadership role in that club more than just floating around swapping clubs each semester. That's what I did. I went from secretary to vice president in the club that I was a part of. For all my other clubs, I wasn't as into it. So I ended up dropping all of those and I stuck to this one club. For sports, you don't have to be a 3-season athlete. Play a sport that you want to play. I know that PE credits are a thing, so if you're playing a sport for a PE credit, then like sure, okay. But you don't have to knock out all your PE credit in the first year. You have 4 years. At least that's how our school is set up. You have 4 years to knock out your PE credit. You can either take a PE class or you can play a sport. I personally enjoy playing sports. It's my way of getting exercise. So that's why I played sports. If you're playing sports because somebody else wants you to play sports, or if you're part of a club because somebody else is part of a club, don't do it. Like, do what you are interested in. 6, take the classes that you want to take. Ultimately, it's gonna be you who's studying and taking the tests. Don't let your parents tell you what to take. Don't take the same classes that your friends are taking just because you want to know somebody in the class. Like, you might not be in the same class as them. Try your best to just schedule yourself to take the classes that you want to take, but also like make sure you're getting all the credits that you need to graduate. For me, this was focusing more on like STEM classes, especially when you're online. Studying gets really hard. Like, the motivation is just not the same as when you're surrounding yourself with other people who are ready to like get straight A's. Another thing that I hear a lot with like parents talking is that like the parents would be like, oh yeah, my kid's gonna take this class next year and then this class next year. I went into high school with a 4-year plan of all the classes that I was gonna take, and ultimately that plan got tossed out the window when I was scheduling classes for sophomore year. Take into account my mental health and how much time there was in a day for me to study. Know yourself. 7, get work experience. From the moment I was able to get a job, I got a job. Like, I didn't even tell my parents that I was applying for a job, and my mom was like, Hannah, you need to talk to me about like big decisions like this. I started on my birthday, my 15th birthday, I started my first job, and I lasted a year. It was honestly a horrible work environment. Like, not like toxic work people, but like the air ventilation in that room in the pool was horrible. It was so stuffy and you were just choking on chlorine. But anyways, I learned so much about like professionalism, customer service, because I initially started as a swim instructor and then I got promoted to management like way too soon. So like, I wasn't ready, I wasn't prepared for the job that I was supposed to have. I was definitely underage for that position. I had to deal with parents and testing their kids and telling parents that their kids did not move up a level and having to deal with the fallout of like angry parents. I had parents yell at me in Mandarin, and even though I am Asian, I can't understand Mandarin. I have no idea. And I was like 15 and these like grown adults are yelling at me in a language I don't understand. Like, while that isn't like the most pleasant, it taught me so much about like being able to hold it together, being able to not be rude to people because they are still customers in your establishment. So even if you don't have like the most positive work experience for the first time or the second time, you will learn so much from working. Try and get a job. And finally, it might just be for me, but I wish I got my license earlier. I didn't start the process to get my license until after I was 16, and I got licensed earlier this year, so when I was 17. Not being able to drive was quite inconvenient because we don't have a good public transportation system here. The nearest bus stop is like a 1.5 miles away. Not being able to drive was so inconvenient and like a hassle on my parents. I would have to like try and secure a ride to make sure that I could go to water polo games or swim meets, like away games. I couldn't pick up extra shifts at work because nobody was gonna take me, and it's like a 1.5 miles to go walk there. I had to walk home from school every single day when it was like 90 degrees out and the sun is shining, and I was a sweaty mess. Before I got my license, I was just a sweaty mess. I walked everywhere. I feel like that's the only good thing about not having a license, is that if I wanted to go somewhere, I had to walk. I would walk to the library, walk to the grocery store, I'd walk to Pooja's house, I'd walk to like school, I walked back from school, I walked to like Panera Bread. Get a license. If you don't have a good public transportation system around you, get a license. It's like amazing. You don't have to get your own car, you can borrow a car, but get a license because it's just so much more convenient than like pestering your parents for a ride. That's pretty much everything that I wanted to know before I went to high school, and like my main takeaways from high school, from the high school experience. Thank you so much for watching. This is just the start of all the college content that I want to share with you guys. Stay fresh, and I will catch you next time.